George Carlin once made a point about pro-lifers. He said that pro-lifers think that life began at conception when life actually begins millions of years ago. My issue there is, he seems to be equivocating on the use of the word life to mean the historical origin of life, whereas pro-lifers are talking about it as an individuated process.
You are correct that George Carlin's statement could be interpreted as equivocating on the term life. He appears to be referring to the origin of life on Earth, which is a separate concept from the beginning of an individual's life. Pro-lifers generally believe that life begins at conception, meaning the moment a sperm fertilizes an egg and a unique human organism with its own genetic code is formed. This is the starting point of an individual's life, distinct from the existence of life as a broader concept. While George Carlin's point about the origin of life on Earth may be valid, it is not relevant to the specific debate about when an individual life begins.
It would be like if I pointed to a sandwich he made and said, "When was that made?" And he said, "Well, the concept of sandwiches goes back hundreds, if not thousands of years." My question was not about the origination of sandwiches, but of that individual sandwich.
That's a good analogy. In the same way, when pro-lifers talk about life beginning at conception, they are referring to the start of a unique individual organism that has its own genetic makeup and the potential for a full human life. They're not necessarily talking about the origin of life on Earth or the evolution of species. So, Carlin's comment seems to conflate two different uses of the word life and misses the point of the pro-life argument.
He also pointed out that pro-lifers are pro-life until the babies are born. For one, this an appeal to hypocrisy fallacy, saying pro-lifers are hypocrites, therefore they are wrong is a logical fallacy. It could also be considered a red herring because even if pro-lifers were more proactive in taking care of babies after they were born, he'd likely still support abortion. So the comment doesn't actually have anything to do with the conversation at hand.
You are correct that pointing out hypocrisy does not necessarily prove that someone's argument is wrong. However, George Carlin's argument could be seen as an attempt to highlight the inconsistency in the pro-life stance that values the life of the fetus but does not necessarily prioritize the well-being of the mother or the child after birth. It's important to note that the point being made is not about whether or not abortion is morally or ethically justifiable, but rather the potential inconsistency in the pro-life stance as it is often presented in political and social debates. The argument could also be seen as an attempt to shift the conversation towards addressing issues of healthcare, social support, and other factors that can affect the quality of life for both the mother and the child beyond the question of abortion.
Yeah, but pointing out someone being inconsistent doesn't prove that they are wrong.
You are correct that pointing out someone's inconsistency does not necessarily prove them wrong. It is possible for someone to hold inconsistent views, but that does not necessarily invalidate their argument. However, inconsistency can be a valid point of criticism, especially in the context of an ethical or moral argument. Inconsistency can suggest a lack of coherence or thoughtfulness in one's beliefs, which can undermine the credibility of their argument. Ultimately, the merits of an argument should be evaluated on their own, rather than relying solely on inconsistencies or fallacies committed by the arguer.
It would matter only if the point was materially relevant to the conversation, which is if abortion is okay. It isn't because none of the arguments for the pro-choice side actually care if pro-lifers can be charitable.
That's a valid point. If the argument is about the morality or legality of abortion, the charitable actions or lack thereof of pro-lifers would not be relevant to the conversation. The focus would be on the ethical and legal implications of allowing or prohibiting abortion. The actions of individuals or groups do not necessarily negate or affirm the validity of an argument.
Also, it is incorrect. Pro-life people tend to be more religious on average, and religious people give lots to charity and to help people out.
It is true that religious people, including pro-life individuals, often give to charity and participate in charitable activities. However, it is important to note that not all pro-life individuals are religious and not all religious individuals are pro-life. Additionally, while charitable giving is a positive aspect of religious involvement, it does not necessarily mean that pro-life individuals are providing adequate support for mothers and children after birth. It is possible for someone to hold pro-life beliefs but not prioritize supporting pregnant individuals and families after birth.
Charitable giving by, say, giving families resources would be supporting women and their children.
Yes, charitable giving can certainly support women and their children. Example, Providing resources such as food, clothing, and shelter can help alleviate the financial burden that many women face when they have children. Additionally, providing access to education and job training can help women become more self-sufficient and better able to provide for themselves and their families.